Hello there, welcome back to my channel. I feel like this is the new routine. It is Thursday, October 10th, and if you've been keeping up with all of my Falling in Love with Teaching Again vlogs, which if you're not, gotta check out the playlist, but it is the day after I taught the Transformation Room, which is an Under the Sea theme. So I'm gonna update you on how that went. And it also has been this will be day 3 with a new student. So I wanted to share just a few ideas, nothing revolutionary, but how I kind of manage and organize getting a new student to make my life easier. Because if you're a teacher and you've gotten a new student in the middle of the year, you know it can be a little bit hectic. So without further ado, let's jump into it. I know not everyone is a fan of the light on in the background, but it makes me happy. So if it bothers you, just listen instead of watching. Let's chat about the Transformation Room. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, go back. I think it was 2 vlogs ago. I shared all about the Transformation Room that my school has that all of the staff gets access to, and it was so much fun. Y'all, I had such a great time. Again, the space is just amazing. Go back and watch that video. You can hear me geek all about it in that video. But in terms of how the execution of the lesson went, first of all, I got here like I usually do. I'm still the first one here every morning just before 6. The first thing on my list was to go down to the Transformation Room and set up the cards. So these were basically task cards with some division word problems, and I actually shared all of the lesson materials for free. They're all linked in that video, so go back and watch it. But as I was walking up to the Transformation Room, I looked down on the floor and I saw a massive spider. The video does not even do it justice, but y'all, that spider was a good 3 inches in diameter.
Call poison control if you're bit by a spider.
And that's one thing I need to get used to about living here in Texas. Everything is bigger in Texas, including the critters. And now I have to worry about not only large spiders, but scorpions and rattlesnakes and all of the things that I am not used to coming from Maryland. But I ended up stepping on the spider, so it scurried away. I put the cards up. I went back up to my room to grab clipboards, came back down. This time it was in the Transformation Room. I squished it, unsuccessful with killing it, but I did injure it. I saw it scamper away and I'm like, yeah, I got you, buddy. But when I stepped on it, it released a bunch of little baby spiders. I'm like, this is a horror film, and that is too much for me on a Wednesday. But I hung up the cards around the room and I just found some random spots. Like on the pole of the pirate ship, I put a card. I hid one inside of a treasure chest, which was fun because that was the card that they were struggling to find the most. I also hid cards within the coral, and it was fun because I was trying to think about where are they not gonna look, and it made it more interactive for my students during the lesson. Then I set up the rest of the materials that I would be handing out and utilizing on that main table, which was part of the pirate ship. So I brought down the diver's helmet, which I did not wear the whole time because y'all, that thing got a little bit toasty in there, but it was nice just to have it. Then I put out the different recording sheets that I was using, and I mentioned that I brought down clipboards. Now, apparently they usually keep clipboards down there, but I didn't know that, nor did I see any. So I just brought my own from my room, but I put those in there ahead of time so that my students wouldn't have to carry them down, along with a bin of pencils. In fact, it's the bin of pencils that I keep in my room that are just a collection of all the pencils that have been found on the floor. So we utilized those. But having that all set up with the recording sheets already on the clipboard made it much, much easier to organize the materials once my students got in there. Then I went ahead and set up my slides, which again, I made through Canva. I shared a free link. If you're interested and you wanna go in and edit them, you can. But I also needed background music. I feel like background music and themed sound effects are a really easy way to liven up any lesson with very minimal effort. So I ended up just searching, finding NEMO music or underwater music, something like that. And the video I came across, it was literally called NEMO coral reef music and ambiance. I'll put up a picture of what the thumbnail looked like, but I will also link the video down below. It is 5 hours long, so it's one of those things you can just put on in the background and keep playing. But it was basically the music from the beginning of Finding Nemo, if you know what I'm talking about. So it was very calming and relaxing, and some of my students even picked up, they're like, wait, I know this from Finding Nemo. So that was very easy. All I had to do was insert a video into my slides and have it playing in the background. Then one of the things I did not show you in the transformation video were the lights. And that was so much fun. When my students did the Look It at the end, I ended up turning on all of the lights in the room and turning off the main lights. So the colored lights made it look almost like water kind of being projected up on the ceiling. There also was a black light, which was really cool because when you turned it on, there were pieces of the coral that glowed, and it just made the experience that much, you know, more amazing. So that being said, overall, I think the execution of having those 3 activities, so starting with the task cards, as partnerships finished the task cards, they turned in the recording sheet to me, and I then gave them the Deep Sea Expedition budget page, and they were able to go find a quiet spot in the room to sit and work through that. And it was more of like an independent activity so that I could support students who are still working on the task cards. Some students did not get to the Deep Sea Expedition budget, which is okay. However, it was nice to have that as not a time filler because it was a meaningful activity, but it gave them something to transition to so that we could all stay on the same page. Once everyone had finished the task cards, then we moved on to the Book It at the very end. And I felt like it paced perfectly within that hour time frame. The only thing I did not end up doing was utilizing the air tank. I mentioned that I had a 2-liter bottle from HEB that I was going to use as my air tank, and I did finish the bottle. I had it cleaned out. I just didn't end up bringing it, didn't end up wearing it, so it's fine. Now, on top of the crazy but exciting nature of yesterday doing the transformation room, we also had makerspace, and y'all, one of my students made me this crowd. It's so cute. I'm gonna hang it up on my class fridge, which is really just a display on my wall over there, but it's where I put all the pictures and things that students give me, and then I also will clip up materials like that. On to other exciting news. On Monday, my last vlog, I shared about how I found out I was getting a new student the next day, and I talked at the end about how even though it can be overwhelming, getting a new student as a teacher truly is a privilege because it's another student that you get to impact. It's another life that you get to hopefully make a difference in. And my student is so sweet, so sweet. Obviously, getting a new student can be stressful because you're suddenly scrambling to remember all the things that you have to do when you get a new student. And I'm gonna share a little hack for that. But when they first showed up on Tuesday, my students were taking a math test, and I felt really bad because I'm like, what do I have this student do? So it worked out well. I still had the science materials out from our investigation on Monday, and I basically just set up an individual station and had that student work through it. That way they were caught up on what we had experienced in class, but it also allowed them to dive right into something hands-on because they did not have any of their technology. They didn't have their Chromebook yet. They didn't have materials, things like that. So that was the perfect kind of activity for them to do. Since then, they've gotten their Chromebook, but they still don't have access to all of the different things that we use like iReady, but I did get notebooks yesterday. So I went to our administrative assistant when I found out I was getting a new student and said, hey, I really need like some notebooks to give them. Those came in yesterday. I went ahead and got them labeled with the tape. So I've shared about this before. Let me show you. So these are my students' math and science notebooks. Purple is for all of my afternoon students. Blue is for all my morning. Pink is for math, and green is for science. So those are just pieces of colored duct tape that I stuck on the side of the notebooks, but it makes it really easy to keep them organized. And the reason I have them here is because my desks do not have any storage space in them, but stay tuned until the end because something is changing. But teaser aside, speaking of getting a new student and color coding things, I wanted to share my little hack for staying organized when getting a new student, making sure you don't forget any of the things that you need to update, and how to make your life easier in the future, because typically you might get more than one new student throughout the year. If you've been around a while, y'all know I love me a good checklist for everything. It just helps my brain be able to actually function. And so I've shared about one of my favorite list making apps through Google, which is Google Keep. It's completely free. It syncs with your Google account so you can access it on any device. There is an app for your phone. You can also access it on a computer in the browser. And I have a set of free headers. So the headers are just these images. So for example, weekly tasks, I have that as a free image that you can download and insert into Google Keep. So I will link the free ones below. I also have a set of editable headers if you want to create your own. For example, I have created one that says new student and added that in as a checklist to my Google Keep. If you are interested in the editable headers, I will link them for you down in the description box. But last night, I actually went through and I was like, you know what? I need to go ahead and make a new student checklist. That way, when I get a new student, I can just reference this checklist and know all of the things that I need to do. But I realized the things that I do vary a little bit depending on if the student is in my homeroom versus if they're in my switch class. There are certain things I need to do if they're in my homeroom that I don't necessarily need to do if they're in my switch class. So I ended up making 2 lists and color coding them. So you'll notice this list is blue, and that's because my morning students, my homeroom students, I use the color blue to represent their materials. I have it on their notebooks. I have it as their turn-in bin. So then I just made a copy of the checklist, but color coded it purple for my new student in my switch class checklist, which everything that's on that checklist is also on my homeroom new student checklist, but there are some extra things on that checklist. Now, this new student is not in my homeroom. They are just in my switch class, so I'm utilizing this purple checklist. But it's things like making sure I contact the family either by giving them a phone call or an email as soon as I get their contact information. So I've already done that. I can check it off. Add family to contact list. I have contact lists set up for my homeroom students as well as my switch families within Google Contacts. That way when I send emails, it's super easy to attach them all. And I've already done that. I can check it off. Give student class keychain. So hold on, let me show you that. I showed this at the beginning of the school year, but I created little keychains for each of my students as a welcome to school gift, but also as a way to build classroom community. So this is what the keychain looks like. Now, these were just plastic keychains I got on Amazon, and I made the little printout image for the inside, but it says proud member of the 4 Emerson family. And then I attached these little gift tags. I had these linked as free templates several vlogs ago. It's one of the ones from the beginning of the year. But when I prepped these at the beginning of the year, I went ahead and prepped some extra ones. So I already had blue ones, which are for my homeroom students, as well as some extra purple ones ready to go. So I was able just to grab that out of my closet and give it to the student. And it was so sweet because I kind of announced it to the class. I was like, y'all, we're giving out the keychain. And the class was all like, yay. And they were all showing where they have their keychains. So like, mine's on my bag that I carry between classes. Mine's on my lunchbox. Mine's on my backpack. So it was very sweet to see them actually utilizing the keychains and to feel like it's a big deal to be given one, you know what I mean? So I have given the class keychain, that is a check. I do need to go through and update some of my digital rosters and checklists. So in my TPT store, I have a set of student checklists and also student data sheets that I utilize for all of the things. And I need to go in and get the student added in. I give my students numbers based on where they fall in the roster alphabetically. But when I get new students, I just add them to the very end. So if I previously had 21 students, I just increase it to 22 and I place the student at the end. So I've updated it on a few, but not all of them. So I'm gonna leave that on my checklist. I need to update my badge roster. I've shared about this in a previous video as well. In fact, I think I have the little sample one, hold on. Yes, I do. Okay, so I shared about this in my favorite teaching hacks video, but I print out a small version of my roster and I keep this in my lanyard, my badge that I wear, so that at any point, if we have a fire drill or an evacuation or something, I always have a copy of my roster and it just makes it really, really handy. So I need to update that and print it out and put the new one in my badge. So I'm gonna leave that on there as well, and updating my sub binder with the new rosters and seating charts and everything. Add student to Google Classroom classes. I can check that off. I did that yesterday. Prepare math workbooks. So we use Eureka Math and the students have workbooks that they utilize for all of the practice problems and things like that. Now, I was able to get workbooks for all of the upcoming modules, but not the one that we're currently utilizing. So I ended up just printing like physical copies, which this is literally half of the module. Rip to the tree that had to die in order for this to get printed, but this is essentially what it looks like. I just put it into a folder. So I printed out all of the pages that the student will need for the rest of this module. And that way, this will be their workbook until we get to the next module. And then I have another workbook. So I can check that off. And then finally, prepare math and science notebooks. That means putting the tape on them, which I have done that, and table of contents. So inside of each notebook, the very first page is a table of contents. So for example, this is the one for science. So I have the different modules and I have my students number their pages in their notebooks and then they fill in the numbers as we go. And then in science, we also use a it should be CER, not CRE. Yeah, the bottom part is right, but the letters at the top are not. Lovely. And then the science skills just as like a reference for my students. But we got those prepared yesterday. So I've checked off a majority of the list items. And the reason I love using Google Keep for this, once I am done all of those checklist items, I can just click the 3 dots, choose uncheck all items, and it will be reset for the next time that I need to use it. Plus, I'll be honest, I'm probably gonna think of other things and it gives me a spot to brain dump. So whenever I get a new student in the future, I will already have the list of hopefully all the things that I need to do. Because this is my first time getting a new student this school year, I'm still coming across things where I'm like, oh yeah, I need to do that. If the new student was in my homeroom class, I also have things on there like preparing their cubbies and just some extra things that go with like them being in my homeroom class. But all that being said, I need to get ready for the day and then we will chit chat after school. I knew I would think of other things and literally throughout the day today, I thought of additional items to add to my checklist. So for my switch class checklist, I added updating Flippity, which actually I did that, so I can check that off. But then under my homeroom new student checklist, I also added preparing Tuesday folder and homework folder. Now, speaking of homework, this is just a school-wide expectation. It's not a personal choice, but we give a weekly homework assignment on Fridays that are due the following Friday. So students have a full week to complete it. And I was having some students either forget it at home or lose track of it. So I've started posting them as materials on my Google Classroom. So I just created a topic called math homework, and each week they get a printed copy, but I also have attached it here as a material. So if at any point they lose track of it or need a new copy, it is here. And then that way, if parents or families reach out, I can easily direct them to Google Classroom. It only takes a few seconds to add it in. Once I have posted it on one Google Classroom, I can easily copy it over to the other, so it doesn't take up too much time. We made it, y'all. We made it to the end of the day. Somehow part of me feels like, how is it already Friday tomorrow? And the other part of me is like, how is this week not over yet? Because it has flown by, but also simultaneously gone by very slowly at the same time. Today overall was a good day. I honestly feel a big sense of relief because I have all of my lesson planning for next week done, which is a miracle because I've yet to have planning time this week. Monday, I had 2 conferences during planning. Tuesday, I had 2 meetings. Wednesday, yesterday, I had 2 conferences. And today I had a meeting. So I have not actually had planning time. So if you do the math, yes, that means I chose to do lesson planning outside of contract hours. So in the morning, I typically get here just before 6 a.m. So I have a little over an hour to be able to get things done. And then I've been staying after school. So has my work-life balance been great? No, but I also feel good now that my planning is done, and that's gonna allow me to go into my weekend and fully enjoy it, which is important because it's my B-Day weekend. My birthday is on Monday. We actually have a staff development day, so no students on that day. Billy is going out of town, so I will actually have a weekend to myself.
Last weekend, I outran a black pepper snake.
And I am thoroughly looking forward to it. But the other reason I feel good outside of just having my lesson planning done is all of my grading is done. Now, they are in the process of completing a science assignment that will get finished tomorrow. That is the last thing that I need to get graded and in the grade book for this 9-week segment of report cards, which grades are due next Tuesday. So I plan to get that graded tomorrow. Hopefully, you know, a majority of my students are here and get it done and I don't have a lot of missing work. But other than that assignment, my gradebook is completely caught up, meaning everyone's grades are in there. Today was a lot of trying to get some students to finish like math tests and doing redos and things like that. But now that that is all done, I feel a big sense of relief. So on to fun things. My switch teacher, the teacher who I share students with, she teaches my students math and science. I teach her class math and science as well, but she teaches them reading, writing, and social studies. Her birthday is the day before mine on Sunday. And so I am responsible for celebrating her birthday like amongst the team. And we are getting lunch tomorrow from Chewy's. She also requested, like, we provide a dessert. So I asked her what she wanted and she said either tres leches cake or crumble cookies. And it just so happens that this week Crumble Cookies is doing a tres leches cake. So I'm gonna go to Crumble tonight and pick up cookies for tomorrow. But before I leave, I need to hang up birthday decor. So I already have her card ready to go. I've had all of the teachers on the team sign it. And then I got, this was supposed to be a happy birthday banner, but they sent me the wrong one. So it is just cacti. But I'm gonna hang this up with the other birthday banner that I got that just says happy birthday in green over like her door area. And then these are balloons that kind of match. So I'm gonna get those hung up. And then I also have birthday hats for our students to wear. So I'm gonna place these out on like their desks so that they can wear them in her class, and then I will give some to my students for when they switch to take to her class. Other than that, let me consult my to-do list, my power list for the day. Birthday setup. Okay, that's all that I need to do before I leave here. Yay, that is good. And then going to pick up crumble cookies, but I will get to that. Last thing I wanna end you with is a funny story from recess. Yesterday or the day before? I think it was 2 days ago, it's Tuesday. So Tuesday we're out at recess and a lot of our students like to play this game called Gaga Ball. You can Google it. I didn't know what it was either before coming here. But I guess at one point a ball had gone up and gotten caught in a tree. So this happened, I think the day before. The ball was still in the tree on Tuesday. Well, all of a sudden a student comes up to me and they said, my shoe is in the tree. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what and why? Why is your shoe in the tree? Thinking it came off their foot and went up there. No, they took off their shoe to try to throw it to get the ball down and their shoe got stuck in the tree. I'm like, great, okay. So I go over, I look thinking maybe I can reach up and grab it, it's way too high. So I end up borrowing a ball from another group of students, a soccer ball, and I'm kind of throwing it to try to get the shoe down. And I was close. I made contact with the shoe a few times, just not hard enough for the shoe to actually fall. Throw it about a fourth time, that ball gets stuck in the tree as well. So if we tally it up, we've got 2 balls in the tree and 1 shoe. The most important thing is getting the shoe down. So at this point, I've clued in another teacher. I'm like, what's our game plan? There's this really, really long, big branch sitting on the ground. I'm like, all right, I think I can use that to like try to, get it down, like a piñata almost. I'm trying to reach and I'm so close, but I'm just barely short. So the Gaga, where they play Gaga ball, it's a hexagonal kind of wood thing that's like, I don't know, maybe 1.5 feet, 2 feet tall. So like, I think I can stand on that with the branch and be able to reach it. And thankfully the tree was right there, so I could kind of lean on it. I was able to get the branch to get the shoe down. And then I got one of the balls down. I did not get the other one down. The tree branch started having bark fly down and it was like getting all in my eyes. Meanwhile, the students are all like, Mrs. Emerson, cheering me on. So I'm now known as the teacher who rescued the shoe during recess. But fun times in 4th grade. Other exciting announcements, we're getting new desks. So the plan is on Monday to swap out these desks that I currently have for trap tables, which is originally what I was going to have, but then we added another teacher to 4th grade, so my classroom got moved, and these were the desks that they were able to get because they were brand new and they're great. But my principal was like, yeah, they're pretty big. They take up a lot of space. I was like, yeah, they do. So we're gonna swap them out for trap tables, yay. So stay tuned for that update in the next vlog. I will show you how that turns out. In the meantime, I'm gonna go set up for my team teacher's birthday, and then we're gonna have a great Friday tomorrow. We're gonna enjoy some Chewy's and some crumble cookies, and then I'm gonna relax this weekend, I promise, and celebrate my birthday on Monday with the staff development day, and then I'll check in at some point. I'm not sure exactly when I'm gonna vlog next. I've been kind of swamped lately with work, so I feel like I want to take a couple of days off and just relax. But whenever I check in next, you will know if you are staying up to date on my Falling in Love with Teaching Again playlist. So make sure you are doing that. But otherwise, if you enjoyed this vlog, please give the video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. And as always, thank you for watching. I love you so much. Don't forget to put your positive pants on, and I will catch you in the next one.